Chapter 4. The Trail of Flowers and the Colossal Beast. The next morning, just before Ethan woke up, he had a dream. It was the same dream he had 2 nights ago when everything started. He thought it was important, so he tried to focus on the small details in his dream. He sat upright on his bed and thought to himself, "Why am I having the same dream again? How could this be possible? If it had happened a week ago, I might have been in shock, but now, this is not even shocking to me." A lion's loud roar echoed in his room, interrupted his concentration. The lion's roar made Ethan forget his dream, and it gave him chills. He looked through his window and saw a lion pride. A majestic male led the group, with 4 lionesses and 6 cubs following behind, each a different size. In the distance, Ethan heard the sounds of elephants and other creatures. The town bustled with the vibrant presence of wildlife that seemed to have come from the forests beyond the Nerupunila, towards the west of the twin towns. Ethan couldn't help but ponder how these animals had breached the formidable barrier of the Nerupunila mountain range, which had long served as a natural shield between the towns and the wilderness. The towering peaks of Nerupunila had always provided a sense of safety, keeping the untamed wilderness at bay and ensuring the tranquility of the townsfolk. Worried about Emily, Ethan quickly went downstairs to get his bicycle, determined to keep her safe. In his hurry, he briefly forgot the danger of stepping outside, where only bones would be left behind. A tragic death occurrence from the mouths of the lion pride was avoided in this story by Ethan's father. As Ethan hurried down the stairs toward the main door, he found Thomas blocking his way. It struck him that his father was intentionally keeping him from leaving his own home. A sense of calm came over him, knowing that his sister was likely being protected with the same care. He had faith that she would be safe. Ethan's father, taking on the role of a guardian, stood firmly by the door, preventing Ethan from leaving the house. Throughout the day, there was a chaotic movement of groups of animals migrating from the west to the east. Ethan guessed that this migration might be the reason why pets were relocated to another town the previous day, to avoid any harm to the pets from the wild animals. On the 3rd day of the people walking with their hands raised, activities were subdued, with the entire day dedicated to the careful transfer of wild animals. Everyone chose to stay indoors to prevent loss of life and ensure peaceful travel for the wild animals. But why and where were they headed? Ethan took the opportunity to observe various animals and become familiar with their distinct sounds. Many of these sounds were entirely new to him, making him realize that his mental images were quite different from the reality of these sounds. The carnivorous animals were the first to cross the town, followed by the omnivores. As the afternoon progressed, the number of animals crossing diminished. From evening until nightfall, it was the herbivores. Concerned about encountering wild animals during midnight wanderings, Ethan decided not to visit the marvelous place that night, prioritizing caution. The next day, he hopped on his bicycle and headed toward Emily's house. Moving with great care, he kept a watchful eye for any signs of wild animals. His cautious approach led to an unusual discovery as he neared the spot where the marvelous event had occurred. A sense of unease washed over him as he approached the area. He saw a few eagles flying around. Exercising caution, he stopped his bicycle on the road near the lone tree. The tree brought back memories of his sister describing Marcus's peculiar dance near that spot. Curiosity propelled him toward the eagles. He wondered what they could be eating, as it was the first bird he had seen in 3 days. He hoped he would not encounter any wild beasts along the way. His shock deepened when he saw a massive animal lying lifeless, its flesh mostly consumed. The flesh around the head was entirely gone, leaving behind a skull larger than that of 2 elephants combined. Watching vultures devour the remaining flesh, he wondered about the identity of the colossal creature they were feasting on. Where did it come from? What could have consumed its flesh so quickly, leaving only scant remains for the vultures and eagles? He noticed some trees around the creature, showing signs of scorching, and the ground below had ash sediment. Fear took hold of him. He wondered if an even larger creature might be responsible for burning the creature to death. He thought the fire might explain why there was so little flesh left on the creature. Backing away, he murmured, "Could it be Kargor?" He pedalled vigorously to his sister's house, unaware of the shock awaiting him. A shock that turned out to be very unpleasant. Upon arriving at his sister's house, he saw the door open. Inside, he saw two people sitting on the couch with hands raised, tears in their eyes. Ethan realized they were Emily's foster parents, and their distressed expressions worried him. He searched the house but found no sign of Emily. Annabelle's father handed him a piece of paper with the word "marvelous" written on it. Deeply concerned, he feared for her safety and prayed for her well-being. Worried that the people and the controller were unaware of his sister's whereabouts, his mind focused on Marcus and the mysterious sound he heard during his last visit to Kudum. He wondered if there was a connection between his sister's disappearance, Marcus, the dead creature, and the marvelous location. Intent on finding some clues, he headed to the marvelous place. Approaching the marvelous place, he noticed a cluster of flowers beneath the lone tree. The vivid red blooms caught his eye from afar. As Emily had mentioned to him about Marcus's fierce dance while they saw that tree the previous day, the red petals stirred his creative imagination, envisioning a person's fierce dance at midnight under the tree. Lost in thoughts of Marcus's dance and the emotions his sister might have experienced, he briefly forgot about the nearby dead colossal creature. As he reached for the flowers on the roadside, he found red petals followed by a trail of petals in different colours. The floral path led toward his town, something he had not noticed earlier that morning. It seemed like the flowers were guiding him somewhere, and driven by curiosity, he followed the floral path. The path led him to the heart of his town, where he found a beverage shop. Inside, everyone was walking around with their hands raised, enjoying slices of fresh fruit in a serene atmosphere. Eager to understand why he was guided there, he looked around, momentarily captivated by the shop owner expertly slicing a juicy red fruit. The juice splashed as the big fruit got sliced, making him instantly thirsty. The craving for a delicious bite of the juicy red fruit with black seeds became too tempting. At that moment, his mind blanked out, and he couldn't think of anything else as he moved towards the alluring fruit. Without saying a word, the shop owner gave him a bowl filled with expertly sliced watermelon. Gratefully accepting the refreshing treat, he thanked the shopkeeper, saying it was exactly what he needed. Sitting at a nearby table, he looked forward to the burst of juicy flavour on his taste buds. As he was about to bite into a carefully cut triangular watermelon piece, an unexpected event grabbed his attention. A gentle touch on his shoulder startled him, and he quickly turned to see who it was. He was hoping to see Emily, but it was not her. At that moment, his thirst seemed to disappear, and he was frozen, captivated by the enchanting sight of Lily's smile. Lily said Ethan's name with a questioning tone standing behind him. The shop owner offered her a bowl of sliced pineapple, and Lily gracefully took a seat across from Ethan. Still in disbelief, Ethan held the watermelon, mouth hanging open. Seeing his surprised expression, Lily asked, "Aren't you going to eat that?" Ethan replied, "No," stuttered. "I mean," awkward smile. "Yes, I am going to eat it." Lily's expression turned serious as she said, "You better hurry up. We must understand what's happening before our life ends." Ethan's eyes widened, and he asked, "Life ends?" Lily explained, "Yeah, did you see any birds or insects after people started walking with their hands raised? Imagine a world without bees. Our lands would become barren without them, which means no food. Without food, our lives would be at stake." Ethan said, "I saw some birds today." Lily urgently stood up and responded, "What? Take me to the location right away." Ethan nodded and said, "Sure, I'll take you there, but let's enjoy these fruit bowls first. They were given to us with love, and it wouldn't be right to waste them. Besides, there's no need to rush. The birds aren't going anywhere. I'm sure they still have 2 days' work ahead of them. He took a bite of the watermelon in his hand. The sweetness filled his mouth. He wanted to offer a piece from his bowl to Lily. However, doubt crept in, eroding his confidence. They exchanged glances, and Lily awaited Ethan's next words. As Ethan contemplated Lily's potential reactions, the silence grew awkward. Trying to break it, he asked, "How did you end up here?" Lily relaxed and shared, "I was reading at the library, totally into the subject. Suddenly, someone came to me out of nowhere and pointed in a direction. That person did not seem to give up until I walked in that direction, so I followed the guidance. Outside the library, another person directed me further. Following the directions led me to this shop. I saw someone walking normally without their hands raised, which surprised me. I hesitated to enter the shop, fearing it might be something dangerous. But then it felt familiar, like I had seen that person before. When I saw your face, Ethan, I felt relieved." Ethan felt excited as Lily talked to him. It felt like his dreams were coming true, a cosmic nudge to kiss her. While Lily spoke, a silent battle raged in Ethan's mind. He debated whether to lean in for a kiss or not, but he realized it was too soon. Fear stopped him from making a rash decision that could have consequences. Taking the time to think prevented a potential misstep in their budding connection. After finishing their fruit bowls, they thanked the shop owner for the bowls and reached the spot where Ethan had first seen the lifeless creature. Lily, on seeing the skull of the colossal beast, said, "Now, my fear about the end of our life has increased." Ethan added, "When I saw it this morning, there was enough food for vultures and eagles for 2 days. I never thought that in this short time the birds would eat all the flesh and leave only the bones." Lily asked, "What do you think this is, and what could have killed this creature?" Ethan replied, "I have no idea, but this place has a certain mystery. My sister mentioned seeing something amazing somewhere near here that only happens at night." Lily asked, "Wait, you have a sister? I thought you were the only child to your parents." Ethan questioned, "You know that much about me?" Lily answered, "Yeah, you're my classmate, and your parents and mine were friends." Ethan astonishingly asked, "You know about that too?" Lily explained, "Yeah, I remember the argument they had. I was there then, and so were you." Ethan shared, "Was I present when they argued? I am unable to recollect anything about it. I found out about this only a few days ago." Lily redirected, "Okay, let's not lose track. You were talking about your sister." Ethan started, "Oh yeah. Long story short, I had a sister who we thought was dead," briefly explaining about his sister, her unique scar, and Marcus. Lily said, "Well, that's a lot to take in. Where is she?" Ethan's worries surfaced as he explained, "I don't know. That's why I'm concerned. I couldn't find her in her house. My search for her led me here. I followed the trail of flowers, hoping it would lead me to her, which led me to that shop where you found me. But I still haven't found my sister. I believe this creature and the marvelous event could hold the answer to finding her." Lily offered assurance, "I know the place where we can begin our search." Lily guided Ethan back to their town, leading him to the familiar surroundings of the town's library. Her confidence in navigating the shelves and finding the sections about ancient mystery creatures and stories was clear. With purposeful strides, she selected a couple of books and arranged them neatly on a table. Together, they delved into the pages, scanning through the texts to find information about the mysterious deceased creature. Perplexed, Ethan asked, "How do you know where you can find these books? It's as if you've lived here." Lily smiled and replied, "Not lived. You are referring to it as past tense, but you should be referring to it in the present tense. This has been my new home for the past 3 days." Realization dawned on Ethan. This explained why he couldn't find Lily the day he waited for her at her house. Ethan took a book, saying, "What are we going to find in here? Do you hope to find the information about the colossal beasts in here?" Lily just said, as she was busy searching for books that could help them. He was in awe when he read that the world, which he had long thought was flat, was elliptical. Excitedly, He shared this newfound information with Lily, who gave him a judgmental look. Ethan quickly defended himself, saying, "Hey, don't give me that look. I've been living in my grandmother's stories and never considered the possibility of the world not being flat. Guess I might have slept through all the geography classes." Lily smiled reassuringly and replied, "This explains your low scores in geography all the time. But it's okay. Nobody knows everything. It's nice that you're open to learning something new and willing to accept facts. Many people disagreed and stopped coming to this library, thinking everything there was a lie. But rest assured, this place is a haven of truth. Everything mentioned in the books found here is not falsehood, except for the fiction storybook section that we saw while entering the library." As they continued to peruse the books, Ethan stumbled upon something crucial. He thought to himself, "I hope the details in this book aren't real and are just a fictional portrayal by an artist, detailing colossal creatures as if they had encountered them in person." Curious, he turned to Lily and asked, "What do you know about Kargor?" Lily furrowed her eyebrows in thought and replied, "Kargor? It doesn't ring a bell. Why do you ask?" The details in the book reminded him of the stories his grandmother used to tell him when he was young. He shared, "Kargor is a fire-breathing monster that razed our towns over 1,000 years ago. I've heard terrifying tales about it from my grandmother. Our ancestors of the twin towns bound Mandruk and Kudum with magic to keep colossal creatures like Kargor away from our towns. They built a barrier around our town, making it invisible to the creatures outside and visible only to those with magic running through their bodies." Lily teased Ethan, saying, "Magical walls protecting our town from fire-breathing monsters and other creatures. Your grandmother must have been quite the storyteller, but it was just a story, wasn't it? Do you believe that these creatures exist? Because if they did, then someone should have seen them, right?" Ethan replied, "I'm not sure. You told me the world isn't flat but elliptical, right?" Lily replied doubtfully, "Yeah?" Ethan continued, "Everything we see around us appears flat as far as our eyesight reaches. So the only possible explanation for the world to be elliptical is that our towns are just tiny places in a vast world." Lily, unaware of where Ethan was leading the conversation, replied thoughtfully, "Yeah." Ethan continued, "I recall numerous occasions where I discussed the wall, magic, and creatures from my grandmother's stories with people. They all reacted the same way, unable to remember the information I had shared with them. They had forgotten the recent conversation I had with them regarding the magic wall and the colossal creatures." Confused, Lily asked, "I'm not sure I understand where you're going with this." Ethan explained, "It could mean that the magic wasn't just used on the wall but also on the people of our town." Lily's eyebrows furrowed as she realized, "So you mean I would forget this conversation we're having about the wall and magic?" Ethan nodded in agreement, prompting Lily to ask, "But how are you remembering all these things?" Ethan replied softly, "That's something I'll have to figure out." Lily paused, observing Ethan, her expression curious as she counted to 5 in her mind. Ethan's thoughts wandered as he looked at Lily, looking at him in curiosity. Wow, every expression on her face and every action she does makes me want to sweep her up in my arms, fly into the sky, and kiss her. How would it feel if it happened? As Lily finished counting, she asked, "When will it happen?" Ethan briefly entertained the thought that Lily possessed a mysterious ability to read minds, as her questions seemed to imply she knew his thoughts about kissing her. Doubtfully, he asked, "What?" Lily clarified, "I just counted to 5, and I still remember our conversation about creatures and magic. How long does it usually take for a person to forget?" Ethan admitted, "I'm not sure. I didn't keep track of that. Probably like 10 minutes, maybe." Lily reassured him. "Oh, okay, if I happen to forget our conversation and disagree with you about the magic, please don't take it personally. I understand how challenging it can be when someone doesn't agree with the facts we present." Ethan thought to himself, "She cares about me. She's wife material. I want to marry her." A wave of sadness washed over Ethan as he remembered the beast's skull he had encountered. Dark thoughts clouded his mind, worrying that if the same fate befell his town as the dead beast, there might not be a world for him to love Lily. His concerns were reflected in his expression. Noticing his troubled demeanour, Lily asked, "What's bothering you?" Ethan said nothing, as he redirected Lily's attention to a passage in his book. It talks about a fire-breathing monster that once plagued this world with terror. According to the text, the monster cannot be killed. The passage goes on to describe how various worlds united with magic to safeguard our town, constructing a protective magical barrier around it. This wall acts as our shield, shielding us from the threats of deadly monsters. The book contains information about many such creatures and the protective measures taken. Lily inquired, "Various worlds united. What is so special about our town that it needs to be protected? What about the whole world? Does this mean that the people in our towns are the only human beings alive on this planet?" Ethan was traumatized by the number of questions that Lily had asked. He said, "I didn't find answers for most of those in this book. We can search through the other books. But I guess I know the answer to one of the questions. I believe it's me." Lily curiously asked, "It's you?" Ethan responded, "Yeah, I am the special thing about this town." Lily looked at Ethan, expecting him to continue. Ethan, who just wanted to sound cool to get her to like him, thought to himself, "It sounded a lot cooler in my mind. I am an idiot. I should make her feel special so that she would like me, not make me special. Think, Ethan. Think twice before you speak. Please, God, help me through this." Ethan explained, "I meant to say we. We are the special ones about Mandruk and Kudum. You, Lily, Marcus and me. Don't you think?" Curiosity furrowed Lily's eyebrows as she asked, "You probably might be right. But what is special about us? We are just some random people trying to make it through our lives." Ethan said, "Don't worry. We'll find the answers together. I bet finding the answers would probably be easier than finding the answers for our math problems." Lily laughed. She looked back at the book at a picture of a black dragon with horns, which reminded her of the skull they had seen earlier. She asked, "Do you think the magic invisible wall is broken?" Ethan's expression grew serious as he replied, "I wish I could lie about it, but we'll have to check and confirm for ourselves." "Curious," Lily questioned. "Have you ever seen the magic wall?" Ethan shook his head. "No, I wanted to when I was young, but my parents wouldn't allow it. They said the area beyond the town was dangerous, filled with robbers. And when I got older, math happened. It made me forget all my grandmother's stories and mysteries because solving math equations seemed more mysterious than them." Concern etched Lily as she queried, "You said there were many monsters described in that book. But why did you ask about Kargor?" Ethan explained, "Among the ancient creatures that I have looked through, Kargor was the only one that could breathe fire. Except for the name and the fact that he could not be killed, there is nothing about him. We might not even recognize him apart from the other colossal beast." Lily said, "Why would you want to recognize him?" Lily gasped in terror. "You think Kargor was the one that killed that ginormous creature?" Ethan somberly nodded. "I am afraid so." Lily said, "If it's true, both our towns are at stake." The sun was at its peak when they stepped out of the library with the book containing information about ancient mystery creatures and a couple of other books that could be useful. Feeling a sense of friendship, Ethan extended an invitation to Lily to join him for lunch at his house. Lily hesitated initially, but Ethan insisted that she join him for lunch, as it might take time for Lily to reach her home for food. He also said that whoever was in control would have already made his mother prepare food for Lily. As they strolled toward Ethan's house, Lily pondered aloud, "Ethan, do you believe that whatever is happening is ultimately for the better?" Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, I truly believe so. I have been thinking of ways to improve our town for the next generation. The increase in plastics and industrial waste has taken a toll on our environment. Some have warned that our actions might lead to the end of the world. However, if you consider the history of this planet, we heard from our ancestors, This world has seen many natural disasters and yet managed to regenerate. So it's not the world that's at risk, but humankind if we do not take serious actions regarding this. That's precisely why I volunteered when you sought help a few days ago. If the entity in control truly wants to end the world, why bother cleaning the streets of our invisible town? Moreover, a couple of other things happened that gave us a positive view of what is happening around us. Maybe the birds and bees were removed from our town for some other purpose, and when the purpose is fulfilled, they might return. Lily sighed, her expression reflecting a mix of sadness and hope. I hope things improve, and that all of this is happening for the best. As they arrived at Ethan's house, his parents warmly welcomed them at the doorstep. Ethan's mother, overcome with emotion, embraced Lily tightly, her eyes brimming with tears. Perplexed, Ethan remarked, "The volume of tears from my mother's eyes seems to surpass the amount she shed yesterday upon learning that my sister is alive." Lily playfully retorted, "Oh, come on, why would she cry more upon seeing me? Perhaps you didn't observe closely enough yesterday." Ethan agreed with Lily's observation, and they all gathered around the dining table for lunch. Hungry as ever, Ethan wasted no time in digging into his meal as soon as he took his seat. During the meal, Lily suddenly remembered that she had left her bicycle unlocked and seized the opportunity to excuse herself to secure it. Ethan, with a mouthful of food, attempted to convey that her bicycle would be safe, as people were walking with their hands raised, and even if someone borrowed it, they would return it when she needed it. However, his attempt to communicate was hindered by the hearty meal he was enjoying. Observing that his parents had not started their meal and were patiently waiting, Ethan realized they were not just holding off for him, but were also waiting for all the guests to commence. As time passed and Lily didn't return, Ethan decided to wash his hands and check on her. Stepping outside, he found Lily standing there, looking somewhat confused. Ethan approached Lily and noticed tears streaming down her face. Confused and concerned, he inquired about the reason for her tears. Lily explained that her bicycle was a birthday gift from her mother, and someone had stolen it. As Ethan surveyed the area where they had parked their bicycles, he discovered that his bicycle was also missing. Attempting to console Lily, he pointed out the absence of his bicycle as well, suggesting that perhaps someone had taken them temporarily but would return them when needed, and it would be returned when she wanted it. Lily, still unsure, decided to trust Ethan when he promised to help find her stolen bicycle. She reluctantly put the matter aside and joined Ethan inside for lunch. Surprisingly, as Ethan and Lily were about to sit at the dining table, they found that Ethan's parents had already started eating. This made Ethan realize that his parents weren't waiting for the guests to start eating. There was another reason for their mealtime routine. Despite the mystery, Ethan chose to focus on enjoying his food and solving the puzzle of the dead creature, leaving his parents' peculiar dining habits for later. After lunch, everyone decided to stay indoors. Lily thought about going back to her house for the afternoon and returning in the evening. Although Ethan wanted her to stay, he hesitated to express his feelings. Eventually, he agreed with Lily's suggestion. As Lily left Ethan's house, she was surprised to see a girl her age approaching on Lily's stolen bicycle. Just as Ethan had predicted, the girl gave the bicycle to Lily and left with her hands raised. Ethan had hoped Lily would stay, but the circumstances didn't seem right for that wish. To his surprise, another girl rushed toward Lily with her hands raised. Ethan watched as the girl approached. The act of running itself was unusual because the planned routine of the past few days had eliminated the need for such haste. Ethan was intrigued by the unexpected turn of events. The girl stopped next to Lily, took the bicycle from her, and quickly rode away. Ethan found himself confused, trying to understand the unfolding situation. Ethan hurried to Lily, who looked at him and said, "I think I should stay here. Back at my home, there's no one to talk to. If I stay here, we can delve deeper into the investigation of the creatures from the book." Ethan thought about how Lily's choice to stay might have been influenced by his unspoken request to the universe. However, he wasn't aware of the complete truth behind her decision. Seated in Ethan's room, they explored the books borrowed from the library, discovering the rich history of their town and ancestors. The texts told a story of a time when various creatures lived peacefully with humans, helping them. However, about 1,500 years ago, something changed, and the creatures turned hostile, attacking humans without a clear reason. The books left them confused about what had caused this sudden change among the creatures. As they kept reading, a spark of hope emerged. The accounts described a phenomenon called the Call of Dream, a miraculous event that saved humankind in the town's history. Interestingly, the descriptions of the Call of Dream matched the current behavior observed among the people in their town. According to the texts, during the Call of Dream, people were influenced by a higher power that sought help from other worlds, using magic to protect their world from hostile creatures. The magical wall surrounding their town, a crucial defense, was built during the last Call of Dream, lasting for about 216 days. Interestingly, during this time, individuals had no memory of the events that happened. For most, it felt like they had woken up from a deep sleep to find themselves within the protective walls, safe from the looming threat of creatures. Surprisingly, only a chosen few retained memories of the events, choosing to keep the information secret for the greater good of the people. However, people of the current generation consider the Call of Dream a myth. Within the volumes, Ethan found a lot of information about special swords, each with unique powers. One sword could summon and control fire, while another could pierce through anything. There was a sword that could control water, one that attracted negative energy, another that governed the forces of air, and yet another that controlled the elements of rock. The last sword was believed to have power over animals. As Ethan explored the details of these amazing weapons, he got an idea. He imagined using the sword that controlled water and air to clean polluted air and water. He wanted to contribute to creating a healthier and cleaner world for future generations. Lost in his thoughts about powerful swords, Ethan didn't notice that Lily was upset. When he finally came back to reality, he saw Lily sitting with a heavy heart, on the brink of tears. Worried, he asked her what had happened. Lily, unable to hold back her emotions, began crying. Ethan, unsure of the reason for her tears, felt deeply helpless. Seeing Lily cry for the first time was heartbreaking. To comfort her, he gave her a piece of cloth to wipe her tears and sat next to her, offering a supportive shoulder. Lily's tears gradually stopped and she began, "I'm sorry, I couldn't control my emotions. I was thinking about my mum's health condition, and the sadness overwhelmed me." Concerned, Ethan asked, "How serious is it?" Lily's voice shook as she shared, "It's a heart condition. The doctors have given her about 6 months to live. I fear that these 6 months might pass during this Call of Dream period. I might not even get to hear my mother's voice again." Ethan couldn't believe what he had just heard. Things started to become clear to him. The reason for Lily's mother visiting his parents, the reason why Lily's mother was crying during the visit, and the reason why his mother hugged and cried with Lily that day before lunch. Ethan didn't want to dig deeper into the topic of Lily's mother, afraid it would bring more tears to her eyes. Unintentionally, he glanced at the piece of paper his professor gave him on the first day of the Call of Dream. The message about the belief that things that had happened occurred for good, and the ongoing events were unfolding for a good purpose echoed in his mind. However, at that moment, he couldn't fathom what good could come from the pain inflicted upon Lily's mother. He felt a surge of anger directed at the universe, questioning the meaning behind such suffering.